This video was sponsored by Squarespace. Let's make a bird feeder. My plan is 3 parts, slab build. So I wanted to keep a pretty simple design. So even if you're just a beginner potting along at home, you should be able to manage this project. And I wanted it to have a thick column in the middle that's gonna hold a lot of seeds. That also means I don't have to refill it very often, and a roof to keep off all of the rain. And I think it's gonna look pretty cute. These are all the tools you need for this project. As you can see, you don't actually need that much. And here are all the tools that I recommend, but are optional, and you could make this project without them. By the way, I have links to all of my tools down below in the description, and I decided I'm going to make a template out of this project so you guys can pot along and make the exact same project at home. I'll have that done for you by the time this video goes live, so I'll have that linked down below in the description as well. So let's get into it. I need it to be kind of big because I'm thinking this rectangle should be 30 by 35. So 30 in circumference and about 35 centimeters tall. Let's see if I have enough clay for that. So I'm just cutting out a rectangle that is 35 by 30, and you know, you could use a square and everything like that, but I'm just gonna eyeball it because that's why we love clay, right? Because it is squishy. Rectangle. Now I'm going to pop this in front of the fan because right now, like you see, it's very floppy. We need this to be a little bit more firm before we actually try and make it to a cylinder, because if we do it now, it's just going to collapse. I usually flip it halfway through as well. Now I want to make the roof. I think a roof might also help if you have like a squirrel problem. Ta-da! So we have our circle. To make it a cone, we just need to cut it open, basically. We're just gonna cut the circle out. Okay, now we have our circle, so I'm going to cut from the edge to the center to make the cone. So now we can do this. Ooh. Our bird feeder is gonna be a little bit wider and shorter than this, but I think the best thing is I'm gonna make the cylinder first before I make this, because like I need to have a look at the proportions so it looks nice. Okay, she's firmed up. Still a little on the floppy side, but it'll do. So I love this little tool. It cuts easy 45-degree angles, but you don't need this tool. So I'm gonna cut each end that I'm going to attach at a 45-degree angle. Now what I think I'm gonna do, it's still a little floppy and this clay doesn't have a lot of grog in it. I'm gonna attach these 2 sides over some support. So I'm just using my rolling pin here because I don't want it to get too squished while I squish the 2 sides together. I'm gonna put it together. Okay. Ta-da! Okay friends, we have to take a little break from our bird feeder to thank today's sponsor, Squarespace. There are a few things that I love about Squarespace, one of which is their online store, where you can sell physical goods, online classes, services, and even memberships. 2, they just launched a really cool AI feature called Squarespace Blueprint that makes setting up your website, tailoring your brand, and optimizing for SEO even easier. And 3, once you have your online store set up, Squarespace offers really flexible payment options. So your customers can have a seamless ordering experience using PayPal, credit cards, or even Afterpay. So if you're ready to take selling your pottery to the next level, or you're just looking for an online home for your art, I really recommend Squarespace because they make making a beautiful website really easy. So head to squarespace.com right now for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/potterytothepeople for 10% off your very first website or domain. Now let's get back to our bird feeder. I was envisioning something bigger, but this is cute. And in the meantime, we can work on the base. So I'm thinking something like this shape for the base, because then the little birds can sit on the edge and the extra seeds can be collected down here. This is a bisque mold that I made ages ago. I have videos about how I made this and how I use this, but if you don't have something like this, that's totally fine. Just use a bowl that you have in your kitchen. If you're using a bowl of any kind that is not porous, all you want to do is put some cloth over it, because if it's not porous, it's going to stick. And then you're not going to be able to get your clay off. Once again, ½ centimeter. We're going to do ½ centimeter this whole project. By the way, if you're into slab building stuff, I do have actually another channel. I'm always surprised to hear that people don't know I have this other channel, because I feel like I've talked about it quite a lot. But I do have another channel that is just for my templates. So projects very similar to this one. That channel is mostly to demonstrate the templates, like how they work. And it's all slab building. So if you like slab building, go check it out. I'll link it somewhere. So how these bisque mold works is really nice. Like, I like to put them up on a little platform like this. I mean, this is nice because it spins, but of course you could just use like a can of soup or something like that so that the clay could drape down the sides. And then just gonna lay it on top. You do want to have excess clay. So what I like to do is do some rough cuts in the beginning, because I don't want it to be folding as much as it is. I'm just trying to get rid of that extra clay that's like causing it to drape and fold. And then press it down. Then I'll just use my needle tool, or you can use a knife, whatever, and cut off the extra. And then this will go in front of the fan as well. I'm going to cut at an angle to make it a cone. This is a little trickier because it's gonna wanna sink if it's not sufficiently dry. Something you can do is you can get there's these styrofoam forms that you can buy at different craft stores, and you might want to use a former for this, but I don't really have anything that I can think of that is cone shaped, so we're just gonna freewheel it and hopefully it's gonna be all right. Gonna overlap them. Stick. Okay. You blend. We're gonna go like this. That's better. And then because I'm a little worried it's gonna sink, I'm just gonna support it with some fabric. Okay. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's good enough, right? Okay, once again, I'm gonna set this aside. And in the meantime, this has firmed up nicely. Don't want it to get too firm because I still have stuff I need to do to this. This should be ready to go. So you can sort of see very clearly, I'm juggling all these different parts, right? This is really handy if you work this way, because then you can kind of work on the whole project at once without having to wait for each individual piece. So I'm not going to work on the edge right now because I want it to firm up a little bit more still. But what I can do is attach these two together. So to attach, I'm just gonna mark where it's sticking. Don't worry about being too precise. It's fine. We're gonna clean up any extra bits later. What we're doing right now is we are just getting the forms together, getting the forms built, getting the proportions, getting the structure. And then later on, we go into the details. I'm just gonna add a little bit of water now here because they're firmed up now. Now they're like too firm to just stick together with the wetness of the clay. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of water back in, just in these particular spots where I want it to stick together. You can use slip. I typically just use water. I figure from the scoring and the water, it kind of like makes a slip on the surface anyway, so I don't really see the point of slip with my clay. I'm sure with some clays it's very important. So just line it up. So I like to kind of go like this, which is why I needed to remove it from that, because that sort of works like, kind of like locks onto each other. We're gonna use our paintbrush with a little bit of water to clean up the extra scoring lines. You can tell a lot of this project is about regulating the moisture levels in your clay. The bigger your pieces are and the thinner they are, the more important you are working with the very precise moisture levels that you need. I just want it to look neat in the end. So there's one thing I want to do today still. I'm going to wait till tomorrow to do the majority of the finer details, the carving, and the, you know, surface decoration. But I do want to do one more thing today because I'm worried that tomorrow it's going to crack if I do it. And that is making the holes on the sides because I actually want to push in the clay there. Cutting things out later on and carving, that can be totally leather hard, but in order to push the clay, you want it to still be wet enough. And this little blocker here is gonna stop all of the seeds from just flowing out, but the bird can get in here. See, all of this manipulation of the clay, that needs to be done when it's still quite wet. I'm gonna repeat it now on the other side. That's pretty much all I can do today. I think tomorrow is going to be very interesting because I would like to add some carving to it, but I don't know exactly what yet. We're going to find out tomorrow. Okay, so I want to just tidy everything up. There's a lot of rough edges still that need to be fixed. And the second thing I need to do is sort out hanging it because I do need these pieces to stay separate so that I can remove the lid and fill it up again. Basically, I need to figure out how I'm going to hang it up here. I think I have an idea for that. So let's get into it. Let's just tidy things up first. Okay, I'm getting a little crack from over manipulating it. I'm gonna add a little bit of fresh clay, like a Band-Aid on top of it. It's not ideal, but it should help. It's where I did the seam, and I think I just like bumped it back and forth a few too many times. I've smoothed it all in, and theoretically it should be fine, but I wanna make double sure that I don't get a crack along here because then my roof is completely useless. So I'll just add a tiny bit of clay. Okay, let's work On the mechanism for the roof, I'm just going to put a hole through because that can just fall down and be supported by this one here. So rather than make some sort of ceramic support that is probably going to break because I would have to make it very thin, this needs to stay as open as possible so I can actually get the seeds in. So I can't just like cover it, right? But if I build like an X out of ceramic, it would be so thin that I don't trust myself not to break it into the future. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is make it out of wire, and I can make a sort of cross. So all I need to do now actually to install the cross later is poke holes for the wire to be threaded through. Don't worry about this part too much because this should be covered up by the roof. Ta-da! And then you won't see the wiring at all. Now is the fun part. Decorate this. Here's what I'm thinking. I have had a recent experience with a wooden bird feeder that got really waterlogged. And I was thinking when I was designing this that I don't want this to happen to this piece. If I fire it and glaze it like normal, it's going to be vitrified because I'm using stoneware, which means it's going to be waterproof, which means if rain falls into here, even though I've got my roof, you know, water is going to get in. If it sits in here and there's seeds in here, it's gonna get really nasty. So I was thinking, how do we avoid that? And I think what I should do is actually underfire this piece so that it remains porous and therefore can dry out just like a sponge would. But what that means is that I can't glaze it because if it's underfired, the glaze won't get hot enough to develop to how it's supposed to look, so the glaze would look really bad. So basically, I can't glaze this part at least. I can glaze this one and I cannot glaze this one. So how do we work with that? My thought is let's do some carving. So yeah, that it just looks more interesting. When I was designing this piece, I was a little bit reminded of the Moomin Troll house. I don't know if you guys know about the Moomins, but they are wonderful. So I think I'm gonna lean into that and sort of add some house-like designs. Ooh, and let's not forget, I wanna add dowels. Kind of a pack rat when it comes to collecting wood pieces in my basement. And I have all these dowels. I don't know which thickness is right, maybe this one? Okay, no more thinking. We're just gonna get to carving and we're gonna just figure it out as we go. He does have a little to him, but it's cute. Just gonna make holes with this large hole cutter. Like this, it might not fit this dowel, but I do have a couple of different sizes, and if not, I can go to the hardware store and get some. It is not quite straight. Let me see if I can fix this. Some things are fine and some things are just like, you want them to be right. Okay, it's fine. I have this red iron oxide. It looks like this when it's not glazed, and I don't have a sample of what it looks like when it's glazed. Like, I think this looks pretty good. It looks like terracotta-y. I'm worried it's gonna look dull when I glaze it because that transparent glaze sometimes makes the red look kind of like brown. But let's try it, let's risk it because I want to make the Moomin house. What I can do is I can use this underglaze. It should also look blue under fired. And then what bothers me visually about this is like red, blue, what is this? What is this color? I could make it red, but it's not going to match this red because this red is gonna be glazed. I think what I'm gonna do is just try and blend this more into the body here. So I'm gonna trim it back just a touch. I don't wanna take away its functionality, but I'm gonna trim it back maybe about 1 centimeter, and then I'm gonna carry the carving onto this so that hopefully visually this doesn't look like a separate piece as much as it does now. I had to turn on a light because there's a crazy storm going on outside right now. I also added some extra holes for the birdseed to come on. I just thought 2 was too few. Let's do the washes. So with wash, you can do them either leather hard or bisque. So I'm just going to do leather hard. For the underglaze, I have these Amico ones. You've seen me use them before. These are the only underglazes I use. Not because they're the best. I mean, they are good, but they're just the ones that I have. But I use them so seldomly that I need to always add some water. I'm gonna let the blue soak for a little bit. In the meantime, let's do the iron wash. Usually pretty imprecise about this. And just add some water. I've done so little experimentation with iron wash. These colors, friggin' fabulous though. So the trick here, I need to add obviously water in the form of underglaze to add the color, but I don't want to add too much water because that's going to make this like get wet again and it's not going to hold its structure anymore. So let's see. Oh, that is very light. Unseeable to the human eye. It's very wet and I'm doing the exact opposite of what I said I should do, which is not get it too wet. I think I should let this dry for now. Okay, I think what I'm gonna do now is just use it straight from the bottle because it's pretty well mixed again. And unfortunately, I think I'm just gonna use up the rest of my blue because there's not that much left. That's more what we want, right? Can you see it? Can you see the vision? By the way, this is a food-safe underglaze. Obviously keep that in mind when you're making little dishes for birds. Okay, the last thing I want to do today before I let everything dry is I want to slightly wipe back the iron oxide so that it is having a little bit more texture, a little bit more interest going on. So you'll be able to see the white coming through a little bit because the idea is visual interest, right? I don't want it to look flat. Theoretically, I should wait to do this, but I want to finish this today. And it's the last step, so let me just pull it back a little bit. Like, look at that. That looks really nice, doesn't it? Imagine it's shiny though. It's meant to look like a house out in the woods, weathered and put together lovingly. I hate it. You can't tell me that these are the same color. You can't tell me that. This is fine. This is fine. The blue is a little eerie, but I think it's fine, especially when it has a red top. But this just looks like poop. It's so weird because on the edge, you can sort of see it's still a bit red. So I think it just got overfired or had some reaction with the glaze, probably that, because this doesn't have a glaze on it, which means this was not an ideal test. So we're gonna remake it. Instead of the red iron oxide that turned out like poop, I'm going to use Amical underglazes. I don't know why I didn't think of this considering I used underglazes for the body. So I don't know why I didn't think of it, but it's going to turn out a lot better. I'm gonna let that dry now and get it glazed and fired and everything. But in the meantime, let's work on the little sticks for the birds to sit on. This dowel fits pretty much perfectly. Cute. I love the mixture of wood and ceramic. It's so nice. I'm excited for this to finally come together. I cannot wait to see this when it's done. That is so adorable. I'm so happy I remade the roof. The red roof is so much better. So to hang it, I'm gonna wrap the string around this, and then it should be evenly balanced. So I just basically wove it in and out of these 4 holes and connected them in the center. Just wrapped it a few times around the structure here. Ta-da! Imagine this. It's hanging, and then to refill it, all I need to do is lift this up. So this is just resting. It's just resting on here. So cute! Okay, let's hang this thing up now and see if the birds are interested. Thanks guys so much for watching. Don't forget that there is a template for this project linked down below in the description. It's totally free. Go get it and make sure to send me pictures of the results. That's it for me today. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye friends.